So, with NATO as a coalition of a joint coalition of other nations combined together, that's been around since World War II. If an attack on one is attack on all. So literally what he's setting us up for is, if you go in and by force go in and try to take Greenland, you're literally telling NATO to come and attack us. That's literally what you say under the agreement that we have. You're basically telling NATO, dare you to come attack us. Hello, Scouts. Happy New Year. Happy 2026. Welcome to the latest episode of Local Lookout with Rodney and Bobby. Rodney, Happy New Year to you, brother.
Happy New Year, Bobby. Man, I'm glad that we made it through it. We are here. We are in 2026. Like you, I'm sure it is time to leave 2025 behind. It was a year for the record books. But anyway, just glad to be here, brother. You're looking pretty spiffy for the first show back of the year, for the new episode, for the new season.
Yeah.
Your third season, going into your third season of the Local Lookout. So, but you're looking pretty spiffy because last year, we had quite a few guests on who were running for local office, and we had some swearing in this week of some of those guests. So congratulations to each and every one of them. And hopefully this year we will be doing the same. And hopefully at the beginning of next year, season 4 of this show, that we will be welcoming and congratulating some more elected officials in who have won their elections, that have been on the Black Man's Roundtable, on the Local Lookout as well. And in January for the first show back for next year. But anyway, thanks for, and you actually attended one of the swearing ins today. And so you're always looking good, brother. But hey, that's why you're looking a little bit more spiffy than you normally look for the Local Lookout. So congratulations to all those brothers and people.
Yeah, I wanna first of all congratulate everyone who came on last year, and let me give a special congratulations to my brother Raja Anton for his election to the Powder Springs City Council, as well as to brother Michael McNeely for the Mableton City Council. So we showed a lot of support for those brothers in mass, to let them know that we are very proud of their efforts. Also want to give a shout out to brother Donnie North, who's on the Carrollton City Council. And as we all know, Mayor Andre Dickens, brother Mayor Andre Dickens as well, on his inauguration a couple days ago. So just proud of these brothers, their accomplishments. We are thankful that the people trust their leadership on their respective councils. So congratulations to all of them.
Absolutely. Those last two brothers weren't on the show, but the first two were, but the last two weren't on the show, but we're going to get them on, to include Mayor Dickens. We're going to get them on here sooner or later. Absolutely. But also, Bobby, I want to point out that I want to say congratulations and happy belated Founders Day to the men of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. You guys celebrated your Founders Day with this past Monday, right? I believe it was.
Sir. January 5th.
And absolutely, January the 5th. And of course, I want to say congratulations to all of my brothers of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, who will be celebrating. We will be celebrating our Founders Day tomorrow, Friday. And so I want to say congratulations and go mob to all of those brothers as well. So, Bobby, look, we have a jam-packed show today, as we always do. I'm so glad that we won't have the first guest on for this show until possibly next month, because this one is jam-packed today. And so, without further ado, we're going to jump right into it. You have your Civics 101 and your hot topic. And without further ado, Bobby, hey, let's get it started, man.
Hey, let's get into it. So, the civics lesson we want to give today is regarding international law. International law. That is a big deal now. Unless you've been sleeping under a rock, you know that the United States invaded Venezuela and captured their leader slash president, Maduro, as well as his wife, and have extradited them to the United States to stand trial. There's been a lot of clamor about this as to whether or not this is legal or not. It's hilarious to me, and not in a funny way, how we're not describing it as an invasion. We're saying that we have court orders, and this is from Marco Rubio, saying we have court orders to basically go and bring them to quote unquote justice. Now, the real question is, what exactly are they being charged with? Because what was told to us, being the American people, was that this was about drugs. Okay, that's the way they sold this. And then when we get the indictment, fentanyl is not even mentioned. So, we have once again lies being told by this administration. Once again, not being able to trust simply what they say and reconcile it to be truthful. So here we are. So I wanted to make sure people understood what is a violation of international law. That question will be out there as many people, including myself, wonder how are you going to prosecute someone here in the United States um, by basically taking the leader out of another country and then claiming that they have violated the law, and we have not. So that is the question that is out there. So let me just read to you once again what it says. This is by, I just Googled the response, the chat GTP, just to get an idea so you can explain it in plain terms so people can understand. A violation of international law occurs when a state or individual breaches international obligations, ranging from serious crimes like genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity to breaches of treaties or customary law, such as attacking civilians, enslavement, or violating national sovereignty, leading to potential sanctions, reparations, or prosecution by international bodies like the International Criminal Court, the ICC. So, to give you an example of some violations that could cause, so what constitutes a violation of international law? So, things like core international crimes. These are things prosecuted by international tribunals, including genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity, crimes of aggression. Customary law breaches, such as violations of established practices, such as piracy, slavery, or torture, even without a specific treaty. Breaches of the UN Charter. That is something else we need to make note of. Those are violations of core principles like the prohibition of the use of force or non-interference in sovereign states' internal affairs. Those of you, again, if you haven't been paying attention now, we have the person in the Oval Office claiming he's running another country. Again, some examples of other violations include deliberate attacks on civilians, schools, or hospitals during conflict, unlawful military intervention in another sovereign state without UN Security Council authorization. Does that not sound familiar? Engaging in or permitting slavery or genocide, abusing captured persons, or recruiting child soldiers. A state violates international law when it commits a, quote, internationally wrongful act, a breach of an international obligation. So I wanted to read that out and you decide for yourself. Does that sound like we violated any of those particular um, uh, constitutions of what is a violation of international law? Does it sound familiar? The one that stood out to me was unlawful military intervention in another sovereign state without UN Security Council authorization. So it's things like this that have us question, what are we doing? Where are we standing today as a country? When we see the supposed leader of our country committing these particular type of violations, we and let's be clear about something. Nicolas Maduro was not a good leader. He's not a good person. Okay, so no one is defending him from that standpoint. What we're saying, what people are questioning, is how do we go into another country, take their leader, and bring him, extradite him back into the United States to be held up in trial. However, um, you look at how this was done military wise, and we still have soldiers that are recovering from this invasion, this attack, and we just don't hear clarity coming from Washington D.C. We have a lot of questions. So with that, I want to turn it over to you, Rodney, and you add what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so like you're saying, a lot of questions. Like everyone else, I have a lot of questions as well. But I think one of the things I was asked today uh, on this about whether he was committing military, crimes, and it's kind of a, I don't know, it's real touchy because the commander in chief can commit troops anywhere that they choose, around the world. It has happened before. You know that we have done this with Gaddafi. We did this way back in 1989 with Manuel Noriega. And of course, we did it with Osama bin Laden, and then there's been others. But those are some of the more recent ones that we have went in and either killed or captured or taken someone and so-called brought them to justice in the United States, or just killed them and buried them at sea, supposedly with Osama bin Laden. Now, so the commander in chief is authorized to um, commit troops wherever he wants to commit them. Okay. That's the perk of being commander in chief, if you want to call it a perk. But however, so therefore there's really no congressional approval for that, but it's not with everybody. It's not with the forces at large. It is usually with the SOF forces, the special operation forces, the special operation forces, SOF forces, as you know, we say in the military. What people have been hearing a lot about lately, those special operation forces, has been SEAL Team 6. And this time it was the Delta Force, the Army's Delta Force, where it was SEAL Team 6, the Navy SEAL Team 6. And so, absolutely, they're called special for a reason. They're called special operation forces for a reason. And they are kind of like, almost like a similar but not quite private military, to where it's like, hey, get these guys here and I want them here overnight quickly. And so, whereas if you're going to put real boots on the ground, of course, it's going to need congressional approval. You're
That's
going to
right.
need, to declare war and all that
That's
kind
right.
of stuff. So they're skating on thin ice with it. But my the thing that concerned me more, like you're saying, is the international laws. So you may have not, even if you haven't committed anything domestically here in the United States, as far as our laws and our constitution and even the uniform code of military justice, that doesn't save you from international laws, and that doesn't save you from, like you've talked about, things with the Hague or things with the Geneva Conventions, which we are a part of. And so that's what concerns me more, and I do believe that several international laws have been broken, or either you're knocking on the door or you're trying to skate around certain things, and that's what's concerning me more. And so at the end of the day, how would we feel about someone coming in? Donald Trump is not a good person either. Okay, so we're talking about the Venezuelan president and just taking. We wouldn't even like if if outside forces come in and snatch our president in the middle of the night, 2 a.m. local time or something like that. It was, even if it's Donald Trump, even if you absolutely hate that guy, you would not want that to happen. So that's kind of my thing, Bobby, is what is the international laws and stuff that are being um violated, I
Trampled on.
believe.
Mm-hmm.
Or trampled on.
Mm-hmm. Now, just to throw something back at you too, doesn't Iran, haven't they already declared Donald Trump to be uh, a war criminal?
Absolutely. There's
Don't
going
they
to
have
be
warrants for his arrest?
yes, at the end of the day, there's going to probably be a lot of places that Donald Trump cannot go outside of this country when he step out of well, even while he's in the White House, they don't care. If you are wanted on international crimes, then you step in that country, they can scoop you up. So but yeah, you're absolutely right. And one of the things that I also have thought about with this inv I mean, kidnapping, whatever you want to call it. There's so many different things that it falls up under to me is it kind of give a green light. Here's what we need to think about. It kind of gives that green light to countries like Russia and what they're doing with Ukraine. Because every single time now that the United States bring up, Ukraine and what Russia is doing with Ukraine, now Russia can say, but what about Venezuela? It gives the green light to China to invade, to do what they want to do in Taiwan, because China gets to. Oh, I stole your thunder.
You stealing my thunder.
China, my bad. But you can definitely elaborate. I
I
won't
know.
even
Okay,
touch it. I
I
won't even
got
touch
you.
it. I'm gonna just say that. I'm gonna just say that with China, just with Taiwan, and but also, Bobby. And I hope this is not stealing your thunder, because I do it quite often to you because we think so much alike.
Right.
Which is remember, Bobby, when all those, I'm gonna just call them boatsmen,
Mm-hmm.
when all those men, I believe it was all men on these boats, and I think United States have killed over 100, just over 100 boatsmen in off the coast of Venezuela. We all remember that. Just bombing those guys, and not yet have, at least as far as I know, there's been no evidence that these people were smuggling or trying to get drugs in the United States. They just bombed them, they killed them. I don't want to say murder yet, because I understand murder is a legal term, but they definitely killed over 100 boatsmen. I can't call them drug smugglers because the evidence haven't been produced.
Correct.
So they're just people on a boat. So they're
That's right.
boatsmen. But isn't it weird how you, at 2 o'clock in the morning, you have over 150 American aircraft go into Venezuela, basically, they say captured. The mainstream media is saying capture. I don't know if the guy was even running. So how can you capture somebody that's not even really running? But
Right.
that's the propaganda. They're all in for Trump. All the mainstream media. So you capturing somebody who's not even running. That'd be like saying you discovered America when folks are already here.
Right.
But anyway, we're not going to go into that. But either way, you go in at 2 o'clock a local time, and you so-called, quote unquote, capture this president, and you bring him to justice. Supposedly, there's very minimal people who maybe died on the ground. Okay, some American, soldiers got some flesh wounds, and one got, from what I understand, got shot in the leg several times. I don't believe any of that stuff until I see it.
Right.
Even the claims about American, soldiers getting shot. And then I want to make sure that it's not fratricide. Because I've been there, I know how that stuff works, and I know sometimes. But anyway, I won't go there. But with that being said, the thing that is weird to me is that you can go in at 2 o'clock in the morning with 150 aircraft, American military aircraft, all kinds of soft forces, special operation forces, get the president of the country, who is in a fortified place, not kill him and bring him back. Why you couldn't do that for those boatsmen, for those people in the boat?
Right. Right.
Why you couldn't bring them to justice? If you can get the president, why could you, if you can bring him to justice in New York, why could you bring these people on the boat to justice? Why did you just kill them? So it's just weird to me, but please opine, brother.
Well, even with the insinuation that they were bringing drugs, right? Specifically fentanyl. Can a boat travel that far to the United States without having to refuel?
Not a fishing boat, exactly,
That's
because
what I'm
that's what they
saying.
were, fishing boats.
Right. That's what was. So it brings all that into question. It brings all kind of skepticism just to cover themselves, pick up lies as they know, as they commonly do. So it brings all that into question about even when you're enforcing laws, you want to bring. By the way, January 6th, the law didn't matter then. You released those people, right? All those who were involved with January 6th. But now suddenly you want to bring up, well, the courts. You want to honor the courts. Well, we could bring up the Epstein files. You've only released 1% of what you were supposed to fully release. Since you want to talk about the courts, that's a court order to release the whole files. So it's funny to me how they manipulate, funny, not funny, how they manipulate what they want to tell you and get you to believe. And I'm still aghast at the insinuation that this was not an invasion. This was like a police enforcement, the way they try to describe it. You just try to sanitize your lies any kind of way to make what you do justifiable when it's not, when it's illegal. And you're right. We bombed those boatsmen, and even the ones that survived, we let them go back.
Exactly.
Let them go back home. We didn't bring them here to put them up for charges as to what they were allegedly doing. You let them go back home.
And Bobby,
Obviously damage.
have you seen this court order?
Which one?
Supposedly the court order,
On
that
Maduro?
yeah, on Maduro to say for them to
I
go
haven't
get it.
fully read the whole thing. I know fentanyl was not mentioned.
Okay.
I know fentanyl was not mentioned in
I was just
the
wondering, have they
indictment.
even produced it at all? This
Yeah,
supposedly court order, and like you're saying, they follow the court orders that is convenient
correct.
for their administration, which people are actually, I'm almost pretty much comfortable with calling, the Trump administration, the Trump regime, and they're very comfortable with following court orders. Like you said, they pick and choose which ones they want to follow.
Oh, just imagine. There were over 60 plus cases brought forth about the 2020 election being stolen. Not a single one a judge upheld. Not a single one. They were 0 for 60 plus. When it's just amazing what they want you to forget. All of a sudden now we're complying with what the court said, but the courts didn't matter when you produced the big lie about the 2020 election, which you're still putting out there somehow that you didn't lose the election, and which you're now suing the government to get money back that you claim is rightfully yours for investigating him regarding the election. So we won't go into all of that, but it's just another example of the contradiction of this administration about what, again, picking and choosing what they want you to hear, what they want you to know as to what's factual.
Absolutely, Bobby. And I talked about on this platform towards the beginning of last year about how this stuff is really, really, really hurting and negatively affecting recruitment into the United States military, all five military branches, the active branches, and so it is really hurting it. Now, I say that to say this is, as I look at Venezuela, and a lot of people, I was asked this today as well. A lot of people are asking or making comments or even saying to me, like, well, the United States know, you know, who to pick on and who not to pick on. They pick on they pick on countries that cannot fight back, if you will, right? Why not pick on a Russia who has just as many nukes as we do, if not a few more, actually? Why not pick on China, who's everybody is in the military, the most populous country on the planet, supposedly. And so, but either way, one of the things that I'm saying is like, look, wait a minute, don't be so quick. Just putting the military hat on, don't be so quick to say what you're saying about Venezuela, because there's a whole lot of other countries that look like they are pushovers because they don't have the quote unquote military might of a United States or Russia or China or whatever. However, Haiti proved a long time ago that you can take down a mighty army in what Haiti did with France, and we know how that turned out. Now, with that being said, I warn people that look, Venezuela, that country has quite a few militia because of the drug trade or drug whatever they have over there.
Cartels.
And I think they have something like over 250, almost 300 or so militia, different, and those are only the ones they can count. Now, most of the time, you can't even count how many militias in a given country. I say that to say this: is that if this regime want to put boots on the ground in Venezuela, because it's the only way that they're going to, be able to take over Venezuela. You can take the president out all you want, but the vice president and his entire regime is still in place. They are still in place. And the only way to truly so-called overthrow them is not through the Air Force and missiles on the ground. I mean, missiles from the air. You're going to have to put boots on the ground. Good luck in putting boots on the ground with the kind of militia that countries like Venezuela has. You better get ready for an Afghanistan style war.
Yeah.
And this time you'll be doing it not in the desert. You know
But
what I'm saying, Bobby? So I just want to put that caveat out there. I know it's a lot of military talk in that, but I think I put it pretty easy where non-military anybody can understand how, because we as black folks know when you go in the hood, try to pick a fight.
Right.
Let me tell you something. You don't know what's coming around the corner. You don't know what's coming around that building. And because you can't, you go on people's home front. And like I said, especially when they have that many militia and that's what you know of, it's probably double what you know. So, but anyway, Bobby, yeah.
No, you're on it because, we've been sold a bill of goods about what this operation is truly about. I don't believe it. Many of us don't believe it as far as what they're selling to us about this. So we have to be careful and just like you said, when you go into another country and you take out their leader, you're creating more enemies from you're putting more Americans at risk. And you're messing with these drug cartels, interrupting their flow. So you don't know what all hornet's nest you're stirring up by doing what you're doing. I mean, to say like, okay, we're just gonna run it until we give them, we have a smooth transition, and take care of the Venezuelan people. Man, you ain't taking care of the American people. So how you gonna take care of another country's people? And by the way, they're not believing this. I don't believe they're believing this. They may not have liked Maduro. I'm gonna give them that. But to say like they think that, oh, well, we're coming to save, the United States coming to save us, that sounds just like George H.W. Bush when we went into Iraq and he said they're gonna see us as liberators. That's what he was saying. They're gonna look at us as liberators. How did that work out? It didn't.
And Bobby, I'm so glad you said that because one of the things I was going to make sure that we get in here before we leave this civics lesson is that please understand what you are seeing. Take it from someone, what you are seeing on mainstream media. Take it from someone who, when I was in the wars, CNN was literally riding on our Humvees with us. They were literally on our vehicles. And of course, we have to protect the media and all of that. And once they put press on the United States military, we are a part of our duties is to make sure that they're okay, make sure they eat and all that stuff. It's almost like you talked about when you school this platform on how we have to take care of our EPWs and POWs and all of that stuff. We just can't do anything. We have to take care of them like we do our own. Like you said, if they get 3 meals a day, we get 3 meals, or we get 3 meals a day, they get 3 meals a day. Well, it's the same thing with the media. We have to make sure that they're taken care of. But I'm saying what I'm saying because I understood a very, very long time ago how the media reports in combat. So what I want the American people to know is that, first of all, I've said it time and time again right here on this platform. Turn off that garbage mainstream media. It's nothing but propaganda. These people, trust me when I tell you, okay? I'm a multi-tool combat veteran. Trust me when I tell you that these people are the media, the mainstream media, your NBC, ABC, CBS, MSNBC, CNN, all that stuff, or MS Now, whatever it is. These people literally make sure that they go out in these protests, even whether it's in the United States or whether it is in Venezuela, and they find the the pro get Maduro out of here crowds, but I promise you there are just to the left and right of that protest of people who do not trust the United States of
Of
America.
course.
Okay.
Yeah.
You and I
Absolutely.
both know, Bobby, as
That's right.
military people, that we did not know how much this country was hated until we got until we left this country and
That's
deploy and
right.
go places,
That's
even if
right.
it's just for training. So I just want for people to know, don't believe the hype. Don't believe what you're seeing on that mainstream media that I have just begged you guys to just turn off, read something, go look at, the one of the closest media that I have tuned into when I do, that is that's believable to me, especially on foreign affairs, is Al Jazeera. It is
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
Al Jazeera. It's not perfect. It's not
Yeah.
perfect, but just watch some other foreign media, and just look at the difference and look at how no matter whether you are on ABC, NBC, CBS, and all the ones, and even the cable ones, how they basically is look like every single 5 or 6 networks or whatever has gotten, they all are reading off the same script. It's like they literally just said the same thing over there on CBS, or they
Mhm.
literally on CBS, or they just said that on CNN. And when you look at the foreign media, you don't find that, because these American billionaires don't own, that
That's
foreign
right.
media, like that. So that's one thing I want to say, Bobby, throughout this entire thing, whether it is what you're talking about, with Venezuela, or whether even it's the Epstein files. Just watch the media with a third eye and listen to them with a third ear, and go and watch and listen to or follow some of the other international news outlets like a Al Jazeera.
I want to put a button on this, put a period on this topic. I want to correct something I said earlier. I said George H.W. Bush, President George H.W. Bush. It was actually George W. Bush,
W.
not
Okay.
Daddy Bush, that said that.
Son Bush.
Yeah, that said that Iraq will view us as liberators. I want to correct myself on that. One other thing, one last thing. Noriega. When we captured Noriega, and this is important to note, the difference between these two, or the similarities, I should actually say, who was the de facto leader of Panama. He was not the president at the time that we took him, under arrest. So when he got here, and I have to give credit to hearing this, an attorney talk about this on the radio. He claimed to be a prisoner of war. So his time here in the United States, when he was being tried, he was allowed to have computers. He had like a cushy cell, so to speak, right? Under his capture. From what I'm hearing, is the same thing is what Maduro is claiming. He's going
Yes,
to
he
claim the
has.
same thing.
Yep.
So there's a possibility he may never be indicted on the charges that we're bringing him here for. So he's going to claim the same thing, him and his wife. They may be granted under the court system the same type of treatment that Noriega got. So they're going to argue that. They're going to say, hey, look, if he got it and he wasn't a head of state, you know, he deserves the same type of treatment. So we're going to let these lawyers sort out, how this thing goes, but it may not be as simple as it's being, force fed to us, obviously, by this administration as to what happens to Maduro from this point forward. So we'll see. He always gives us some content to go on. So by the time we have our next show, there may be more to this that's been finalized or still up in the air, but we'll see. We'll see.
We shall see.
We
All
shall
right.
see.
Great lesson, Bobby. Great Civics 101 lesson, as you always do.
Thank
And
you,
so,
sir.
look, I know next we have your hot topic, which is talking about the U.S. Is threatening Greenland to take over
Greenland.
Greenland at this
Yes.
point. And I know you want to talk about that. So, without further ado, Bobby, let's get into the hot topic.
Okay. So what's really interesting about this, not just about what we've already discussed before, going in and taking someone's leader, the head of state, and bringing them here on charges, but now the focus seems to be shifting to Greenland and possibly Mexico, which is just insane. But people need to know Greenland is a territory of Denmark. So the key about this is that we keep talking about going in and taking Greenland, or at least the person in the Oval Office is talking about doing this. because of their natural resources and, of course, oil. Talking about taking it strategically to for the security of the United States. But I just told you, Greenland is a territory of Denmark. Well, guess what? Denmark is also a part of NATO. So with NATO as a coalition of a joint coalition of other nations combined together, that's been around since World War II. It's if an attack on one is attack on all. So literally what he's setting us up for is if you go in and by force go in and try to take Greenland, you're literally telling NATO to come and attack us. That's literally what you say under the agreement that we have. You're basically telling NATO, I dare you to come attack us. And so you hear the leader of Denmark saying, like, let's stop all this talk about taking Greenland. You can't do that. They rely, of course, a lot on the Danish government for funding and for their resources, from their government to help them out. But it's a big piece of land sitting out there that's mostly ice. And so to try to take over Greenland is a violation of NATO. So we're inviting more problems to come in. And by the way, this is what I said, you're stealing my thunder. Should we do that? Should we do that? Once again, you're telling China to look at Taiwan like, okay, that's what we're doing? Okay, all right. You want to get into a war with China? It's the same thing we're condemning Russia from doing with Ukraine, trying to
Exactly.
take over their resources, right? So here we are literally, once again, contradicting ourselves on the world stage under this administration, contradicting ourselves to where other countries can say, hey, look what you doing. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, Israel, we know what they've been doing, bombing Palestine the way they have. So it's so weird what's going on because you got the woman from Venezuela that won Nobel Peace
Right.
Prize,
Right.
talking about sharing it. And yet, sharing the prize with who. And yet, here we are now sitting here on the precipice of possibly going to war in these other countries. Again, I'm sitting here saying to myself, I don't know any country that is okay with a larger country like us coming in and saying like, okay, your leader, we're getting rid of him. We'll take over from here. We're going to bring in our oil companies to come in and start pumping. And it shouldn't come as no surprise to anyone because he constantly said that when we were in Iraq, we should have taken the oil, we should have taken the oil. You can't take a sovereign country's natural resources. You can't do that. That's a violation, again, like we mentioned earlier, of international law. You can't do that. But he doesn't care. He doesn't care about following orders. He doesn't care about following the law. So here we are now, basically just becoming this unruly, lawless nation, and you hear it from the likes of Stephen Miller, about us being a superpower and basically we should be flexing and doing whatever we want. Well, guess what? It's not going to be Stephen Miller's kids that's going to be
Exactly.
out there fighting these wars. It's not going to be the person in the White House kids fighting these wars. We're all just puppets in this thing when it comes down to it on things like that. So people need to tread carefully and pay attention to what is going on. So these are the kind of things that people need to be aware of. People need to be open-minded and just listen to these things because should a war break out, and nobody wants that, myself included, I know you don't. Nobody wants to have new wars, which again, those who voted for this person said that he was going to take us away from. How do you beg for a Nobel Prize and talk about all these? I've stopped 8 wars. First of all, nobody can name the 8 that you're talking about.
Exactly.
But then here you are starting new ones. It doesn't make any sense at all. So we need to pay attention. People need to really pay attention and get out their feelings. I don't care if you say, I don't follow politics or I don't do politics. I keep saying the same thing. Politics is going to do you whether you want to follow or not. You need to be paying attention because you're going to be all looking left and right saying, what are we doing? Well, some of the stuff is happening right in front of your face and you're just not paying attention. So this idea of taking Greenland, which it sounds like they're intentional in trying to do, you're going to put boots on the ground, like we mentioned earlier. You talking about putting boots on the ground in possibly Venezuela, possibly in Greenland. And by the way, all of this strategy is another reason why at midterms he wants to find a reason to stay in power by saying we're at war, starting something new, and basically declaring that no, we're going to suspend elections, by not because we're currently at war. These are all things that if you're seriously looking and paying attention, it's as clear as day. It's transparent. It's not being hidden. They're telling you what they're doing. They're openly telling you about the oil companies. He's openly telling you what we're going to do. They're not even hiding it. So if again, just pay attention to what's going on. I want to get your thoughts, Rodney.
Yeah. So if you, like you're saying, but just pay attention, people, pay attention, read through the garbage. Most of the time, what I believe is that I try to listen more to what people don't say than what they say. And there's a lot of silence out there on a lot of very important policy issues, and no one is saying anything about them. When you have this guy has bought and sold. He has the mainstream media in his pocket. He has the courts, the Supreme Court in his pocket. You know, you have it all. You have the House, you have the Senate, you have the courts, you have the media. And so be very careful in what you listen to and who you listen to. Learn how to read between the lines, learn how to listen with a third ear and look with a third eye, because you're going to need all that stuff. Because if not, you will be hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok, all those other things, because the grift is on. It
Oh, no
is
doubt.
on and fully popping. It is in warp speed. It is in fifth gear, man. And so I think you've said it enough right here, Bobby, that pay attention to what is happening. And so here we are this week, this very week, January 6th. And we are literally, as they say, narcissists are the people, they project a lot. They project on you what they truly are. And this man is calling, Maduro a criminal president. He was not, elected properly and all of this stuff, and that his presidency is a sham, and he's a criminal and all this stuff. This guy's a what, 32-time convicted felon? 34, something
34.
like that.
34.
34-time convicted felon. There are people in this country who's holding, this man to a standard that they won't even hold our own president to. But I tell you what, I am very, very eager to see if I would be totally surprised if he put boots on the ground in Venezuela. I would be totally surprised. First of all, if he got those kind of boots on the ground, then that means it took Congress in order to
Right.
declare,
That's
okay?
right.
But those special forces, in my opinion, those guys with as many militia and with those people are used to guerrilla warfare and fighting the way, and not only, you know, just urban warfare as well. Let me tell you something. Good luck to those SAL forces. I'm glad I'm not. I'm glad I'm retired, because, you know, the military, when you look at it, it is how can I say, it's not your father's military.
Right.
Okay, just
Right.
point blank. I think everybody know that. I'm not going to down an institution that I belong to for so long, and I'm not intending to do that. But at the same time, it is not your father's military, and so I say that to say that these are not the same. These soldiers, and airmen and marine and whoever I'm missing, the guardsmen from even the Space Force for that reason,
Hmm.
they are, these are not the same military members who fought in some of these wars that even us military people who fought in those wars didn't really agree with the concept. All right. But of course, we were kind of a different breed, if you will. I just want for people to understand what I'm saying and be able to read between the lines. If you can read between the lines that I'm saying right now, then you should be able to read between the lines of that junk mainstream media that's trying to feed you a bunch of
Sure.
crap. And I think people know exactly what I'm saying without me having to go there with our military, but it's not your daddy's army.
And the policies that are taking place. This is American colonialism all
Yes,
over
sir.
again. This is
Yep.
imperialism. You know, you go
Imperialism.
in and you flex your muscle on another country, and basically, like we're talking about with Greenland, you're trying to just take it by force. And it's the capitulation that gets me, by those you would think, or they talk to all this stuff about what they allegedly stand for, their principles as conservatives, supposedly, right? All the stuff about, no new wars, and not interfering, government not interfering in your everyday lives. It's so much capitulation now to, again, that's why all of that stuff is just fluff. It's like y'all don't believe nothing you're saying. You don't have the integrity to stand by the principles that you allegedly uphold. That's my biggest problem with conservatives. And everybody, as I've said on here before, and you know this, I've said this before, nobody's 100% of everything, of anything. You're not 100% liberal, you're not 100% conservative. Everybody has some of which in them, depending on how it affects you personally. So it's those type of contradictions that the world is seeing now. Because like I said, if you're gonna take this approach of what we just did in Venezuela, and what you're talking about doing in Greenland, and even what you're hinting at in Mexico, which is
Mexico.
crazy. It's
Crazy.
like Mexico is also part of NATO. So we're basically backing ourselves into a corner. And I heard some of his press conference the other day, and he's saying how he's not happy with Putin right now. Well, Putin has never cared for you anyway. You just
Absolutely not.
you're the only one dumb enough to believe that. So, you're giving more power to those type of leaders to say, "Hey, this what y'all doing? All right, okay." And by the way, New Year's Day, this whole remember, supposedly he had an agreement worked out with Ukraine and Russia, allegedly. So what happens on New Year's Day? Russia increases their drone strikes, man. They bombard Ukraine with drone strikes on New Year's Day. So it's not anything new. But to say, you're not happy. Hey, look, there are consequences that are going to come from this that we don't expect right now, can't see right now, but there's always unintended consequences, no matter what. And again, nobody is defending Maduro as being some great leader. That's not what anyone is saying. But the actions that you're taking, they're a violation of international law, and it's kind of like they're daring the international courts to do something. They're basically saying, "Well, you ain't gonna do nothing. What you gonna do?
You know,
We're the United States. What you gonna do?" And these type of threats, you just never know. You never know. But I know what we are doing are creating more enemies than we already have. That definitely is what's
yeah,
taking place. So it's even affecting, from my understanding, some Venezuelan baseball players right now. Because they're back home, and now they're under a lot of scrutiny. They have to be careful as to where they go, or even how they get back here to the United States. It's making so many people a target, that shouldn't be. So we've got to look ourselves in the mirror as a country, and just deal with what we are right now.
yeah,
And really, it's almost what we've always been. I find it amazing at times when people want to critique us as a country. When I say people, I'm talking about American citizens. Any
yes,
critique that you give towards the country sounds like you're ungrateful, you're a traitor, or blah 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 blah. No, some of you don't even speak to your own family.
yes,
We want what's better for our country. If you can judge members of your own family and shut them off, don't sit here and try to tell somebody else that they can't make a statement or determination about the country which we live in. I'm an American citizen. You're an American citizen. We both have served in the military. We both taken a sworn oath to defend this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and to protect the Constitution. We've all done that. So, those of us that have served, we all took that same oath. So it's we have every right to critique and criticize when you're willing to put your life on the line to defend the Constitution. So I don't want to hear nobody with all this nonsense about upset because somebody critiqued the country and trying to find ways that we can do better as a society, as a country, and what we portray ourselves to be across the world. We have every right to critique that. And if you don't, uh, you're allowing yourselves to be manipulated by just only what the government tells you. They basically killed off the press, from holding them accountable. So we're in this very sad state right now. The courts have been compromised, and these are all things that we, I guess, took for granted growing up in what we thought our country was about. Because being a 70s baby like myself, and then you read about, what things that took place before I was born, regarding desegregation, but I could talk to my parents about it. What
Right.
happened when desegregation happened because they were in grade school. So I've heard the stories. They've told me the stories that they dealt with growing up. And you just kind of take for granted. But all we want is for the country to keep moving forward, keep making progress. But we got people here now that want to take the country backwards in time. And so we're planning our own destruction is what we're doing. We're basically uh imploding from within, which I've always said
Yeah.
great empires, they're not usually taken over by some other country or some other empire.
Yeah.
They implode
Yep.
from within.
Yep.
The
Not from
implosion has
without, but
already
within. Exactly.
correct. Yeah, the implosion has already started. It's already begun. So just don't be surprised in anything that happens from this point forward, but it's not good.
And Bobby, that's part of what I meant when I said that this is not your daddy's army.
That's right.
These you and I both know that the military is like the National Football League. It is a young man's profession. You turn 30, 31, 32 years old in the military, they start calling you old man. And you're young. And so I say that to say this is that generation, when you're talking about boots on the ground, it is those people. It is those people who are primarily has been born since the turn of the century, since this
Right.
millennium.
Right.
You see? And let me tell you, when I say that's not your daddy's army, I'm not talking about necessarily the physical stuff and all that stuff. Yeah, that stuff is different. Just like a lot of the military members that I look at now maybe could not survive mine in your training phase, basic training, boot camp, whatever you want to call it, when we went in. But hey, we probably couldn't do that with our fathers' basic training and boot camp and all of that. So, yes, but when I say it's not your daddy's army, okay, they understand, and they understand unlawful. Not to say that we didn't understand what an unlawful order was, but I tell you what, I believe that these young people are much more apt to question if the order is lawful or unlawful, because it's probably going to be a very thin gray area. And so that's what I mean when I say that. And when you're talking about putting boots on the ground, and you're spitting out and giving these orders, you got to understand, like I said, it is not your daddy's army. Brother talked to me today, the same brother that I talked to when I said what I said a little bit earlier, is he kind of asked me, he talked about how Donald Trump has basically went against every single campaign promise that he made. Every single one of them about being no wars and no new wars and sovereign states and just all that other stuff, right? And so the crazy part about it is this: is he said, well, but yet they're still following him. They're still, and I'm like, and he's like, why do they continue to vote against their interests? Why do they vote against their interests? I said, brother, we have to stop saying things like this is not America. This is not the United
Yes.
States.
I've been
It
saying that.
is.
It
It is.
exactly is.
It is
Exactly who we
working
are.
exactly who we are. It is
Yep.
working the way it designed. And I said, those people, as I've said it too, brother, those people are not voting against their interests. They are not. They are voting for their interests because their interest is white supremacy. You see, it's not what you, if you look at what your interests are, then it seems like they are voting against who they're voting against your interests, but their interests are not the same as yours.
That's right.
All you want is peace. All you want is a livable wage. All you want is affordability. They want that stuff, but they are willing to give it all up as long as Donald Trump feel that no matter how, make them feel like Bull Connor, whoever it was that
Yeah.
said, if you make the lowest white man,
Well, that
you
was
know,
LBJ.
OBJ, okay,
Hmm.
feel that Bull Connor said something stupid, but anyway,
Despicable.
feel that he is better than the best, the richest, or whatever black man, then you can rob his pockets blind.
Blind.
And that's what Donald Trump is doing. So I told that brother, no, and he immediately changed it when I said, brother, we have to stop saying that they are voting against their interests. It is their interest. Their interest is white supremacy, Bobby, to me.
That,
So
that that's what keeps being shown. So it is what it is.
yep. Well, look, Bobby, we got through our very first season 3 show, episode 1 of the Local Lookout with Rodney and Bobby. And man, look, I'm looking forward to a year of just great conversation, peeling the skin back on these so many onions that we are being given. And yeah, onions make your eyes water for a reason. So if it makes you want to cry, basically is what I'm saying. But we're going to continue to peel back the skin of the onion, man, and get down to the nitty gritty. Let this audience know what's going on. We are not the experts, if you will, but what we are is passionate and we're unapologetic, and that's what we're going to bring in 2026. On the Local Lookout, we're going to continue to do that for you, and I'm just looking forward, brother, to working with you this year and at least getting our 12 episodes in, if not more. So yeah, Bobby, I'm looking forward to it. But look, man, great episode, and you can definitely close it out, brother.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So check out the next episode of Local Lookout with Rodney and Bobby on Thursday, every first Thursday of the month at 7:30. So we look forward to having more of these episodes come at you. There's plenty of content that we get between now and the next one. A lot of times we have to pick which one we think is the best, but looking forward to it. I'm very optimistic about 2026, very positive about things, even though things look bleary at times. That's usually when your blessings come, when you don't expect it and out of trouble. So we'll look forward to that in 2026. We're going to keep things positive, but we're going to give it to you on the real. So until next time, we look forward to the next episode with you. Thank you. Have a blessed new year.
Peace, Bobby.
Peace.
Hey, family. If you like what you saw, visit our website at blackmansroundtable.com for more information or to check out more content. Until next time, we'll see you in them suites and them streets. Peace.